idea where they got it, but it's illegal, and you're not supposed to have it, and it's not supposed to be leaked. And it's certainly not an embarrassing tax return at all, but it's an illegal thing. They've been doing it, they've done it before, and I think it's a disgrace.
President Trump talking tax returns with our very own Tucker Carlson. That interview actually going to air tonight at 9 p.m. on Fox News, on the Fox News channel. But drum roll, please. Not a very bad. I think President Trump was being modest. Now that's what he paid. What you're looking at, $38 million bucks. That's what President Trump paid in taxes back in 2005. While raking in more than $150 million in income. The White House confirming those figures last night. Shortly after that, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow announced that she was going to reveal it. They jumped the gun on her. But I got to tell you something. Let's scratch beneath the surface for a moment. I want to take a look at a quirk in the tax code that's called the Alternative Minimum Tax, or AMT. It taxes high earners with big exemptions. The president himself would have been allowed to pay just $5.3 million in federal income tax without it. So my thinking is that you're going to see progressives say we need to keep this in. I'm going to tell you why we shouldn't. But first, let me introduce the panel: Dan Geltrude, Shah, Gilani, and Charlie Kirk. Dan, I'm going to start with you. What a lot of people don't realize is back in 1969, there was a report that in 1966, a bunch of rich people paid zero taxes. There was outrage. We were in the middle of the Vietnam War. How could they not contribute? So, of course, Washington, D.C. gets this knee-jerk action, and they go after 155 families. 155 families making $200 grand with the alternative minimum tax. This year probably will hit 4 or 5 million people. That's nuts. That's crazy. That's the kind of tax policy designed to be punitive, but it backfired mostly, although some say in this case it worked.
Well, when you go back to 1969 and they actually started this alternative minimum tax, they were focusing in on people who were making $200,000 or more, which by today's dollar is actually 1.1 million. So we have to put that in perspective. The alternative minimum tax is a separate tax. It's an add-on. So when you look at the tax code, we actually have two different taxes: regular tax, alternative minimum tax.
But here's the problem, though, Dan, because I want to get everyone in. They never adjusted it for inflation. So now 200 grand is not what it used to be 30, 40 years ago. So now you have people who are just kind of making it, putting their kids through college, and they're paying this tax. It's an insidious tax. Candidate Trump said he wants to get rid of it, and now the left is saying, no, you want to get rid of it just to line your own pockets. But shouldn't we give middle-class workers and families some relief?
Absolutely. The problem is alternative minimum tax is actually working too well. Half the people that fall into the alternative minimum tax are making between $150,000 and $200,000 a year. That is not high-income, super wealthy people.
It's not the kind of stuff. Shah, Gilani, you deal with high-income, super rich people. You're coming to us from Southampton. So you might understand this stuff better than anyone else firsthand.
Well, when it comes to Donald Trump, first of all, his $38 million in tax in 2005, of that, $31 million was ATM, was alternative minimum tax. So combined, he was paying about a 25% tax rate. Now, he's proposing to do away with the alternative minimum tax, the ATM, but he's going to replace it with a flat 25% tax. In other words, nothing would be different for him. He paid the same amount of tax. So this isn't any break for the rich people. This is just simplifying the tax code. There is no handout to the middle class, to the upper class. There is no class warfare here. This has nothing to do with that. This is about tax simplification. This makes a lot of sense. There are two essentially taxes. A taxpayer has to file ATM simply because they make too much money under the traditional tax code, and then they have to weigh the two and say whichever one you make more, usually that's under the ATM. They got to pay that tax. You need to simplify this, make the rules easy for everyone to understand, simplify the different levels of taxation, down to 3 or 5, and that's what we should do, and that's what he's proposing to do.
There's no doubt about that. And again, this is an insidious tax that has crushed a whole lot of people who are just starting to make some good money in their lives. Charlie, the political aspect of this, Rachel Maddow, I mean, she had a great grand time with it. Many have equated it to opening Al Capone's vault, and it backfired mightily against them. Does this put the whole tax crisis saga behind Donald Trump?
I think one of the greatest moments in this Trump presidency is seeing Rachel Maddow stretch it out, have this almost her Y2K moment, almost like screwing up the Oscars. And she looks down at the tax return and she says, oh, he paid $38 million. I wonder to myself, did she actually read the tax return before trying to get people to watch this? Because she made herself look like a fool, and she gave Donald Trump one of the greatest political moments where he can say, yeah, actually, I did pay a lot in taxes. And I think we can all agree the tax code is really screwed up. But look, he paid $38 million in taxes. He also paid a higher tax rate than Barack Obama did, than MSNBC did, than even Hillary Clinton did. And so this whole idea that Donald Trump, he has so much to hide in his tax returns. Thank you, MSNBC. Thank you, Rachel Maddow, for reaffirming that actually your attacks over the last year have been falsehoods and doing it on live network television in prime time.
Yeah.
We all thank you for doing our work.
They prove that he's a really successful guy and that he does the patriotic thing and pays a lot in taxes. Guys, thanks a lot. Well,